When I was 16 years old, my parents dropped me off in Spokane, Washington. I was trying out for the Spokane Chiefs of the Western Hockey League, and when training camp came to an end, they asked if I would stick around and play some exhibition games. And so my parents made the very difficult decision to head back to Calgary and leave me there with the billet family, 16 years old. I remember people asking my parents, don't you think that Lane's a little too young? Don't you think he's a little immature? He's not even an adult, and you're leaving him alone in a different city, in a different country. And I remember them saying, if we haven't prepared him for adulthood by the time he's 16 years old, then we've failed as parents. That's not to say that we can make him into an adult, but that actually what we've done is allowed him to take that ownership on his own. And this is a trial. This is a chance for Lane to either step into that opportunity or to squander it. I remember how fearful I was being alone, but also how formative that time was. And I didn't make the team. I only stayed for a month longer. But even that 1 month allowed me to step up and take that ownership and that maturation that I needed at that time, and was a big formative time in my life. A friend yesterday reminded me of a great quote by Frodo in Lord of the Rings, one of my favorite movies. Frodo is conflicted and he's frustrated and he's had enough with bearing this ring, this task. And he sort of calls out, he says, "I wish it need not happen in my time. I wish it need not happen in my time." And the response comes from that wise old wizard, Gandalf the Grey. And Gandalf says, "So do I." He empathizes with Frodo. He says, "So do I, and so do all who live to see such times. But that's not for us to decide," he says. All who have to decide what to do, all we have is to decide what to do with the time that is given us. It's a great and timely quote for us, isn't it? None of us wish to see this time. None of us have invited a virus pandemic like this in our world. It's frightening. It's disconcerting. It's disorienting. It's all of these things. We wish that it wasn't here. We wish that it didn't have to happen in our time. And yet I also wonder if it's an opportunity for growth. I was reading this morning in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. And Paul too is sort of frustrated with this community. He says to them, "Brothers and sisters, everyone gathered, I could not address you as people who live by the Spirit, but as people who are still worldly." That's a big contrast, right? People who are still worldly, mere infants in Christ. He said, "I gave you milk, the food for infants, the food for children, not solid food. For you were not ready for it. Indeed, you're still not ready," he says. "You are still worldly. For since there is jealousy and quarreling among you," that might look a little bit like what you see at the grocery store these days. "Are you not worldly? Are you not acting like mere humans?" Friends, whether we like it or not, this is the time we're in. And I want to pour out my comfort and my care on you as a pastor, as a shepherd of a flock. I want to just corral you up, say it's okay, but you know what? I can't do that. This is where we're at. This is a time for us to step into that opportunity for maturity, to step up, to take ownership of our own spiritual walk, and to grow so that we can handle not just milk, but solid food. I hope you take that opportunity during this time. Self-isolation and social distancing is going just fine. Why do you ask? Right, Wilson?